keeping it simple. We're gonna combine everything that we talked about in the post above. We've already done our prep work, got everything ahead of time. Just like I said, you wanna have everything set out before you even turn on the stove, all right? So what we're gonna do is actually 2 parts. We're going to make homemade chicken stock for a brine for chicken that I'm gonna cook tomorrow. So you're gonna get to see both. Start off with some boneless chicken thighs, chopped carrots, chopped chives, rinsed rosemary. We're gonna put this in the whole stem, chopped celery. And for a wet brine, you're gonna add salt. But right now for seasoning, we're gonna use a little adobo and black pepper. All right. We're gonna do enough for, let's see, about five thighs worth, okay? And you're just gonna put it straight in. Those of you who don't know how to make chicken stock, you're actually taking the flavor out of the chicken through boiling. Normally you don't boil meat, okay? Because it robs all the flavor, all the fats out. So we're just gonna add all our ingredients straight in there. I know it seems like a lot of salt, right? But that's why we have so much water. And she's gonna reduce it down. Our celery. Our rosemary, whole stems and all. Get that in there. Chopped chives. Carrots. And for a pot this big, I'm gonna do 3 bay leaves. I'm gonna turn this on high first and get the water nice and hot, and then we'll turn it down. So while we're waiting, for those of you who are new to the kitchen, just gonna go over quick, easy, how you slice without chopping off your finger, okay? For starters, in order to keep it away from cutting off your finger, use your index finger against the flat of the blade while you're feeding it in with your other fingers. You don't have to be fast, and you can get nice little thin pieces. Now, when you get more experienced, more confident with it, then you can start to speed up. But don't worry about being impressive. You're not doing a show, I am. So we've got our stock. We're gonna strain it off. We let it cool down. Okay, so we strained off our liquid. Now the only thing we really need to remove is the rosemary stems. Everything else can go right back in to our broth. I've already separated some off for a brine, but this is pretty much ready to go. All I gotta do is add noodles, let them go for a bit to soften up, and we have chicken noodle soup. Okay, so I talked about wet brining, but let me get more in depth. Okay, there's actually 2 types of brining. There's dry brining and then there's wet brining. What we're doing is wet brining. So think of it like marinating your food. The only difference is, with brining, you add a lot of salt. The reason why is so that it breaks down some of the enzymes in the protein. It actually makes your meat juicier. You can brine poultry, like your duck, turkey, chicken. You can brine beef, of course. You can brine fish, and of course pork. Pork is actually something where you have a little more freedom because you get to play with sweet, salty, sour, all those things. A lot of people are apprehensive when you start talking about sweet beef. Not many people like a sweet steak. But with chicken, you want it to have a hearty taste, which is why we have so many herbs and salts in there. Wet brining, you set it up no more than 24 hours. After 24 hours, it's not going to do much more for you than what it's already done. Whereas dry brining, you apply a copious amount of salt, both sides of the meat, and you set it in the fridge. You can set it in for up to 4 days, in fact, without worrying about meat going bad or anything like that. And 3 to 4 days is when you get the most out of it. It's when the salts have really broken down into the actual subcutaneous layers of the meat. So come up with some spice and salt mixes and try it out. So we've got some stock separated for the base of our brine. We're gonna add some white wine and lots of sea salt. But, like I said, knowing your techniques or having some technique to it when you cook is important, okay? Also having a good tool. So I can pare off fat a lot easier with a sharp knife without wasting too much chicken. Okay. Now, we're going to do 2 cuts here. While we've got it whole, we're going to cut the breast lengthwise. Okay. This makes it easier and less time consuming when we go to cook it all the way through. Okay. You just apply a little bit of pressure with your hand, get the knife level, and just go through. Okay. Take it nice and slow if you're not practiced with cutting. Now that we've got that cross cut, we're going to cut the chicken right along the half. So now we've got 4 size pieces. You know, one kind of thin, and then we've got these 3 nice size pieces to work with here. Okay? And we're just going to set these to the side little by little, and we're going to brine them. We're going to start. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to set up a nice little bag here. I like brining with a bag versus just brining in a dish. So I can burp out the air and have the liquid just pressing against the meat. Also means less liquid I have to add. So I'm going to apply a little bit white wine. Cooking wine, okay? We don't need to have a bunch of drunks eating your chicken. A little bit of our stock. And you can see I re-added the rosemary leaves too. Okay? And now this is the part that makes a lot of people cringe. Lots of salt. Like I said, when you wet brine, you don't have to worry about the salt content for a number of reasons. The main reason being that you're going to rinse your food off, okay? So most of that salt isn't even going to be on your food by the time you're ready to cook it. And we just add our chicken in the bag. All right, we've got our bag full. We got our white wine and chicken broth mix. We're gonna top it off with a little more kosher sea salt. Okay. Gonna burp out our bag. And shake it up a little bit, get that salt from off the top of it so it's nice and work into the liquid. I use foil pans whenever I brine. We don't have to worry about, kids messing with the bag and popping it, and then everything in there smells like a winery going wrong. So we're gonna sit this in here 24 hours. And our chicken will be ready. We'll rinse, and then I'll show you the next step. All right. So we've got our chickens brined for 24 hours. Wish you guys can smell this. Okay. And now that we've let it brine, the liquid's managed to seep into all the muscle fibers of the chicken itself. So that flavor is actually penetrated to the core. Okay, so we don't need it on the surface anymore. So we're gonna take it out, make sure none of the sea salts or the rosemary or anything is still on it. All right. Then we're gonna take it, stick it in our flour, AP flour. All right, and what we're doing now is called dredging, okay? When you have meats or anything that's gonna need a coating on top of it, I'm gonna give it a nice little layering of flour over top of it. Okay, so we're just gonna shake this up. I'm gonna put it in something that can shake, so that way it naturally gets in there. You don't wanna just slide it through, because then you might end up with some areas that aren't covered. You're gonna take it out, give it a quick shake. This is just a quick mix of egg and milk. Nice and easy, simple stuff. Because all this flavor is already in the chicken. We don't have to do anything extra other than prep it. Now what we have in here is what's known as panko. For those who aren't familiar with it, it's a specialized breadcrumb, Japanese style. What we're making here is what's called chicken katsu. Chicken katsu is a fried chicken cutlet. And just like with our flour, we're gonna shake it in. And this is what it should look like before it goes into the oil. Put it in a cooktop. I prefer using an electronic cooktop over my stove because it takes less power. And some of them, you can actually set precision temperature. Like you see, I've got mine at 425. Okay, so we're just gonna set these in there until each side gets golden brown. And let them fry up. You'll be able to watch, for anybody who's not used to frying foods, okay? You'll be able to see when the bottom side is brown by looking at the edges here, right at the top of the oil level, okay? I use canola oil. It's healthier for one, and it burns off faster, okay? Vegetable oil is something you want to try to stay away from unless you absolutely have to. Some great alternatives. So we see it's nice and golden brown. I'm going to tap it a little bit. We still got a little ways to go. Okay. Want them a little bit darker. See how it's kind of gold? Alright. We got a nice golden piece right here. Just set them somewhere so that they can cool off. Let's go ahead and crack one of these bad boys open. And look at that. Perfectly even cooked and a nice little crispy shell on it. And there you have it. This is Japanese style breaded cutlet. And what you would do, you can cut this down and serve it over rice. You can make a sandwich out of it. You can serve it by itself. You can even do this with curry. If you know a good curry or stew recipe, you can actually cut this down and serve it right on top. Don't worry, I'm going to be cutting and editing all this tomorrow. Luckily, I've got the whole article written, which is why I can talk to you while I'm doing it. Alright, that's kind of hot. Now it's tender. It's like fried chicken noodle soup. Alright, well, I hope that this post helps some of you that are a little more timid about being in the kitchen. The most important thing to take away from this is learn some techniques and experiment, okay? If you notice, I didn't tell you any of the measurements of how I did everything, okay? You more or less had to eyeball if you were trying to copy exactly what I did. Keep in mind, I don't even have a recipe for this written down, okay? Don't be afraid. As long as you're patient, if you're afraid of burning something, lower the temperature, okay? Take your time. The higher the heat is, the faster what's going to cook is cooking, okay? So if you're worried about that, lower the heat. If you're worried about cutting yourself, take some extra steps to make sure. Take your time, like I showed you before. There are ways for you to cut without worrying about cutting yourself. It's all a matter of whether or not you want to try to be showy or try to actually cook something worthwhile. I'll catch you guys later.